Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome along to Sportsbet TV. This is Paul Alster here with you with tips for this coming Saturday, the 10th of July, where there's some absolutely marvellous racing across Britain. Now, I've stepped out of my usual studio. I'm actually on holiday in Italy, which is why I didn't post a bulletin last weekend. That was the first barren weekend without a tip since July of last year. So apologies for that, but we're back on track, and I'm interested in three particular horses coming up this weekend. And as always, I'm looking for really decent prices to make a good each way betting opportunities. If you're new to the service, do press the subscribe button that is just below this screen, and you'll be able to stay in touch with all of my recommendations, which over the course of the period from way back last July have shown tremendous profits and have included some absolutely huge prize wins and multiple roll-ups. So let's hope that we can have a good shout with the three for this particular bulletin. Now, this particular weekend, I'm reading out of my small notebook, and I feel rather a bit like Ronnie Corbett used to do when he was sitting on his little chair talking to people. So I am going to start off with the first notebook horse for this weekend, which is at Newmarket in the 205 race, which is a 7 furlong fillies handicap. There are 12 runners. Now, the going on Friday was good to firm, and there was some great racing I've seen already earlier this afternoon on Friday at Newmarket, including Snow Lantern's win in the Falmouth Stakes, which was superb. She was brilliant. They are forecasting a few possibly thundery showers in the Newmarket area, but I'm expecting the going won't change significantly, and my tips are based really on horses that are going to handle the good to firm ground, or at the worst, good. Now, in this 205 race, Samut is likely to be favourite. He's a 3-1 shot on the back of what was a really great effort at Royal Ascot a few weeks ago when he was second to the runaway winner, Create Belief, in a red-hot handicap on heavy ground. Now, that was over a mile. He's gone up £3 for that, and he's dropping back to 7 furlongs, and he's back onto a quick surface, which might be as quick as he's ever faced. And because of that, I think he is opposable, although I'm sure Samut is going to run a good race. Now, another horse of interest in the contest is King Mania, Chris Wall's horse, who has won its last three, and they're all on good to firm ground. So this is a horse who really probably wouldn't want too much rain. Regular followers will recall that I did tip this horse when he won at Leicester, although his price shortened so drastically that it was too short for us to have our money on. He went on to win at Doncaster after that, off an £8 higher mark, and he's gone up a further £6 since that success, but he's a horse who seems to be improving very significantly. Now, it is a hot handicap, and there are loads with chances, but the one I think is going to run well at quite a big price is a horse called She Do, trained by Roger Varian and the mount of David Egan. Now, this is a Seeyouatmidnight filly who won at Doncaster last year in June of last year, and she won really well there over 6 furlongs. And the interesting thing about that race is that the second, third and fourth horses have all come out and won multiple races. Indeed, between them, they went on to win 9 races. So that form is absolutely red hot. Now, She Do made her handicap debut at Wolverhampton over 7 furlongs in May on the all-weather track and was a good second. And that was a reappearance, so she was entitled to come on for that run. And then she ran in the race in which Samut was second at Royal Ascot, the Sandringham handicap, and she travelled like a very, very good filly for a long way in the very heavy ground before, in my view, she patently failed to stay, certainly in the heavy ground. So I'm really pleased to see her dropping back to 7 furlongs and returning here to the kind of surface that really suits. And because of that, I think she's going to get a lot closer to, or possibly even finish ahead of, Samut. Now, she remains on a mark of 83. She hasn't gone up, of course, for the down the field run at Ascot. And the yard of Roger Varian remains in very, very fine form with a 24% winning strike rate when last I looked. And looking at the betting, which here in Italy, it's not easy to get a good odds comparison on horse racing, but I've gone through different firms, and the best I find at the time of this recording is the 16-1 that is available each way with Ladbrokes. I'm not sure of the place terms because those aren't displayed, but 16 to 1. If you're new to joining me on this service, remember to shop around and look for the very best value, whether it be the biggest odds available or the best place terms, or indeed the best odds guaranteed with some firms who will give you the starting price if it's bigger than the price you take. But I'm seeing 16 to 1 with Ladbrokes on Friday afternoon for She Do, and that is at Newmarket on Saturday in the 2:05. Now, the very biggest race on what has been a great week racing at Newmarket is the 425, and this is the Group 1 July Cup, the Darley July Cup. It is always an absolutely top quality race, and this year's renewal is absolutely no exception. It is, of course, over 6 furlongs. There are 19 runners, and as I mentioned, we're looking at good to firm ground, maybe good to firm in places if there's a shower or two. Now, Oxted won this last year for Roger Teal, and after a few runs that saw him taking time to hit peak form this season, he roared back to his best with that fabulous display in the King's Stand Stakes at Ascot, and back at the track where he won the July Cup last year. You have to think he's going to be banged there once again and is sure to come into the reckoning. Now, a lot of people are talking up Starman, Ed Walker's horse, who is a very, very good prospect. And of course, he beat Oxted in the Group 2 Duke of York Stakes on the Knavesmire in May. Now, his only previous attempt in Group 1 company prior to that had been at the back end of last season on testing ground in the Champion Sprint at Ascot, and that was the only time he bombed out. So if it comes up soft by any chance, I think you'd have to say Starman's chance will be compromised, but he should be thereabouts, although I'm not convinced he will finish ahead of Oxted this time. Now, of course, Dragon Symbol, the horse trained by Archie Watson, ran a great race in the Commonwealth Cup to be first past the post. Indeed, it's unlucky not to be unbeaten in 6 races because it won its first 4. Then it was beaten a short head in the mud by ROHAAN in the Group 2 Sandy Lane Stakes at Haydock earlier in the season in May. And then it was first past the post in the Group 1 at Ascot, although I think most people would agree that it did enough interference with the American filly Campanelli for the stewards to make the right decision as they did and reverse the placings. But this is a very, very talented horse who I think is again going to run a big race. I'm sure it'll win a big race as well, probably before the season's out, if not the July Cup. Now, with others in the race, such as the American challenger Extravagant Force, who was third in the King's Stand Stakes, Art Power, who I tipped when he was third in the Diamond Jubilee at Royal Ascot, so he won our each-way money. Creative Force, who's improving all the time on a 5-timer after the Group 3 win in the Jersey Stakes. He drops back in trip. And don't rule out Glen Shiel, of course, who's a Group 1 winner last year and was second in the Diamond Jubilee. This is a brilliant renewal. But I'm going here with a horse who I think could provide a fairy tale, and that is ROHAAN, trained by David Evans and the Mount of Shane Kelly. Now, it truly would be a fairy tale win for trainer David Evans, who I'm sure those of you that follow the game will know is usually associated with lower grade horses, handicappers, claiming horses, most of them at between 5 furlongs and a mile. He does well on the all-weather. He's been plying his trade for many years, for the most part with ordinary horses, and he's had a lot of personal issues which were highlighted in an interview he did in the Racing Post, in which he talked about his alcoholism and such. And this horse has come for him at the right time, just as he's cleaned up his own act. ROHAAN has come along and has proved an absolute revelation. It won 3 races at 2. It's been a very busy horse. As usual, David Evans campaigns his horses very heavily. It won 3 times as a juvenile at up to 7 furlongs. And the first of those came, believe it or not, in the nursery off just 55 last season. And here he is running off 116 now in a Group 1 with a real chance. He progressed on the all-weather last winter. He then won the Group 3 Pavilion Stakes on good to firm ground, notably at Ascot in April when rated just 95. And then, as I mentioned earlier, he inflicted the very first defeat on Dragon Symbol at Haydock when he just nosed him out in heavy ground in the Group 2 Sandy Lane Stakes. He showed just how tough he is, and that was off 106. Then, of course, he went to Royal Ascot a few weeks ago, ran in the Wokingham, always a hard race for a 3-year-old, especially under 9 stone 8 in very, very testing ground. And this horse produced a sensational performance. He was last a furlong and a half out in the main group on the far side, and he went through them like a knife through butter. Just go and have a look at the review. And he actually won cheekily on the bridle, I would say. Very, very cheekily, beating Fresh by a neck. He could have won by a lot more. That was the victory, in my mind, of a genuine Group 1 performer. He has won one of the season's hottest handicaps against high-class handicappers, against older horses on heavy ground. He's won a Group 2 on heavy ground. He's won a Group 3 on good to firm ground. And I do think that he's ready for the step up to Group 1 company. And I'm expecting him to really serve it up to them. I think he'll be played late on. I hope the gaps come in time for him. They didn't with Lady Beaufort, who I thought would probably win on Friday and flew home. So you do need to get the gaps in these sprint races. But I think ROHAAN could really be a fairy tale win for David Evans and Shane Kelly. And the last best odds I've seen as of Friday afternoon were 15-2 offered each way, once again with Ladbrokes. And I think that is a very fair price. So ROHAAN in the July Cup for me, each way at 15-2. And for my third and final selection for this Saturday, and I'm taking you to York for John Smith's Day, a day that I have been racing so many times and worked at the track as a commentator and a journalist and an SP returner over the years even. They normally get huge crowds with all the pubs, John Smith sending a coach load, but of course that's going to be a different story to some degree this year, but I'm sure there's going to be a great atmosphere. And the feature race at 4:05 is the John Smith's Cup, formerly known as the Magnet Cup, over 1.25 miles, 22 runners, and the going is generally good to soft in places. It is always a red-hot handicap, and the horse that they're putting in as favourite here is Astro King for Michael Stout, a 9-2 shot, very good second in the Royal Hunt Cup at Royal Ascot. He won the race on the stand side, but of course the horse of Godolphins went clear under Marco Ghiani over on the far side. Interesting to see how he fares here in this race, and he has to go a little further, of course, this time. William Haggas has a great record in the race. He's won it 3 times in the last 10 years, and he's got Al Zarakan, who's a very classy sort, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see that one bang there at the finish. Now, at the May meeting, an impressive course and distance winner was a horse trained by Joseph Tuitt called Surrey Pride. He's gone up £6, but you get the feeling that they probably had their eyes on this race since he won over course and distance in May. Now, if you ignore the Royal Hunt Cup run of my selection, then I think he's got a huge chance here at good odds. And the horse in question is called Lucander, and he's trained by Rafe Beckett, and is ridden by the very good lady rider, female jockey, Laura Pearson, who claims £5. And she is a real rising star, Laura Pearson. She's been doing very, very well last season and this. Now, prior to his run in the Royal Hunt Cup, where he clearly just didn't go on the ground and such, just wasn't happy that day, this horse had been a very good second at Newmarket over 1.25 miles on soft ground. But the significant point that has turned me on to Lucander is that he's visited York racecourse twice in his career, and he's won on both occasions. He's 2 from 2 at the track. So I'm banking on this really being a case of horses for courses. He won a mile nursery on soft ground in October 2019 at the track. And then he won over the course and distance at last year's Ebor meeting. And he won easily off a mark of 94, beating Sky Rider and also Cockalorum, both of whom are set to reoppose today. Now, I have a strong suspicion that Connections have had their eye on this race since last year. I really do think this race is tailor-made for him. And unlike Newmarket, where we're expecting fairly fast ground, there's plenty of give underfoot at York, and the more rain, I think, the better. If there's any showers, they're really going to help Lucander. So I'm expecting him to run well, and with Laura Pearson's £5 claim, he's back to exactly the same mark as he won off at last year's EBOR meeting. So I do think the course and distance is going to bring out the best in LUCANDER. And the last time I looked, the best odds on offer were 16-1 each way with Coral, Bet Victor and Ladbrokes. And I think he's got a solid chance. I think with 22 runners, there's every chance they'll be paying 5. And I'd be hopeful of getting even 6 places when they really start trying to grab your money tomorrow, the bookies. So LUCANDER 16-1 each way is my choice in the 405 race, the John Smith's Cup at York. So just the 3 selections. You can pick and choose between them. You can put them in a patent or a round robin or whatever you choose to bet. But let's hope they run well. I'm signing off from Tuscany for today. I'm going to be back ready in my usual studio to bring you full analysis of all the racing next weekend. But for now, from me, Paul Alster at Sportsbet TV, I wish you a great weekend. Let's hope England beat Italy. I'll be keeping very quiet about it, otherwise I probably won't make it back to the plane. But let's hope they beat Italy, and we'll be on top of our game in all possible ways next weekend for the racing. Join me for that. Bye-bye for now.